Those who know history will remember the concept of the Night of the Long Knives that Hitler had contrived to crush his opposition, political opposition, and even South Africans like John Foster and others joined up on that drumbeat of the Night of the Long Knives, distorting it to mean that the black people in this country, will unleash the Night of the Long Knives against the white people, because people were always confused. They wanted to be called white and Afrikaner at the same time, because Afrikaner means African. But they never wanted to forget that they are white, confused it further sometime with the concept European, non-European, even had toilet facilities of Europeans and non-European facilities. And some of us sometimes, when you know you wanted to go and help yourself, you didn't know where to go in town, because facilities for black people were very few in town, and black men and women. And so then the John Foster and cohorts who were in the Ossewa Brandbach youth leaguers had to meet ultimately, when he was in power, had to meet a man called Mangaliso Sobukwe. And Mangaliso Sobukwe rubbed off all the idea of the possibility of the Night of the Long Knives happening in this country. And Sobukwe educated Foster that we all belong to one humanity. He gave him a long lecture that touched Foster deep in his heart, to a point that he came out and said, Sobukwe has a divine mission, and never ever referred to those mixed up with Marxist and Stalinism and all that. And actually he condemned them as just thugs. But you and I know they were not just thugs. They were confused with colonial concepts, as it has confused a lot of people and has worked for those in power in this country. So those who control their minds were still after power in this country. And I don't want to mention them by name, those who wooed them to Marxism, Stalinism, Leninism, and all that. And thanks God, the Mandelas, who were nationalists, and the Sisulus, never actually bought into these Marxist issues that have come back to haunt us in this country. And that's why Sobukwe was put on his own house on Robben Island, so that he must not be mixed up with folk that Foster regarded as thugs. In the meanwhile, some people were scheming, those who thought they are the dyed-in-the-wool Marxists, and they will look far better than other Africans if they call themselves Marxist. And very surprising, during the negotiations, some of them said they are no more Marxist. For convenience, people like Jacob Zuma and Thabo Mbeki said, we are no more Marxist. But they continued with Marxist ideologies. And the country must know also that Sobukwe was not this devil with the longest horns. He was far better than the Marxists that some of our fathers negotiated with. Far better, not better. He was the best for this country and the world, because you never found anybody who espoused the concept of humanism anywhere else. Maybe the Du Bois, the Nkurumas, and so on, but they were Africanists, more Pan-Africanists. Sobukwe was more than Pan-Africanist in a narrow sense. He was far broader than that. And so they went on. And these schemers who had been in exile, who were priding themselves as Marxists, came back to this country to decimate our people, not discriminate against anybody, but decimating the poor, because they felt they were too much of a burden to carry. They wanted an elitist society that is made manifest in the drug cartels and the big fives and the bigs know nothing. For instance, also allowing the cartels of drugs from outside of South Africa, from other countries in Africa, to come and thrive here, because the scheme was to decimate the people, especially the poor, hit them with nyaupe, hit them with HIV, AIDS denialism, so that they should not get medicines. And Mandela stood up to fight against that. And these people from exile crushed Mandela, said he's trying to rule from the grave, because these are strategies of the most evil order. That is why Thabo Mbeki is saying today that if the ANC loses power, this country will burn, because he prided himself to be an Africanist after exile, because he had found another target to compete with, Muammar Gaddafi, whilst Muammar Gaddafi did not even think about him. He was competing in his plagiarized speech, I'm an African, the speech of Priestley Kaseme. He was competing with Muammar Gaddafi, saying it is an ANC leader who first said, I'm an African. At Columbia University, when he graduated, Priestley Kaseme, Issa Kaseme. And this man is such a trickster. He works around issues for power. It looks like he wants to be the emperor of Africa one day. He failed, brought down by his own friend, big-time friend in exile. Jacob Zuma brought him down. He wants to recover and resuscitate himself by trying to say he will save the ANC and poisoning our minds that if it loses power, then this country will burn. That is the night of the long knives in disguise. He is threatening the night of the long knives again. When we as people have united, if the so-called white people are still in their corner, it is for them. It is for the negotiators at the Trade Center to blame. It's not for the white people to blame. They could have dismantled and built cities where the townships are. Instead, another follower of theirs who is not even sure of his own ideology, but he's just a greedy capitalist, told us that he will build cities in the sky around Rensselaer Airport and so on. And today he's telling the people that the fact that some township is still far from the CBD area, which has always been known as white or previously white. It is the architecture of apartheid. Man, you can't educate us about apartheid. Perhaps we know it better than yourself because you were not even affected by apartheid. You were son of a policeman who was covered and even covered more by the Oppenheimers afterwards. So don't ever think, you tell people, do you know apartheid? Were you there? You are very, what is the word? You are glib and very smooth with your language, reminding people, do you know apartheid and all that? My goodness. Even children born after 1995, 1994, know apartheid better than you. And all of them know that it is not here in this country anymore. Every time there are some elections, you resuscitate it. Every time you bring it to life. You bring it to life. You are laughable. You should have built the townships. You should have built the cities out of the townships. You build matchboxes for the people in the township. You build matchboxes. When apartheid had built better households than you have, so that you can squander the wealth of this country. You have squandered it now, so you are afraid that very soon more of your scandals are going to be exposed. For instance, the Thabo Mbekis and the Jacob Zumas are trying to make sure that the inquests on Inkosi Albert Luthuli does not happen, the Credox 4 and so on do not happen. They have shut out an inquest for my own brother, Bavumile Villegas. I will always put him in your face. He's not of the stature of Albert Luthuli. But in the scheme of things about Thabo Mbeki, it puts him right there. It gives him that prominence if you did not know. And I'll keep on telling you about it. They killed him because he once opposed the arms deal, pretending that we were at war when we were not at war. They were just defeated with the smart Afrikaner, by the smart Afrikaners who were so smart and never wanted to continue fighting, to continue with the arms that they had, great armors that they had. They felt they must be put aside and continue with what was called a new South Africa. You have not helped to create a new South Africa. Only the white South Africans. I just don't like this thing of color, white, African, let me say Afrikaner, and others. have worked hard to create a new South Africa. They work hard where they are. They're taking care of elderly homes without discrimination. The Indians in these communities are working hard to help the poor stand up on their own. All these have done far better than your government. You are afraid that you are going to jail together with your sons. That after the Maumela something scandals, somebody's sons are also going to follow. So to save your sons, we must have a revolution in this country. To save your sons and your girlfriends, we must have a revolution in this country. Come on, man. You so-called intellectuals across the board, unite. Stop the nonsense that you need black parties uniting. What are these parties that you call black? Have no reason to exist at all, even as parties. White people are not talking of white people uniting. They're just doing what they're doing. You are busy saying we need black people, and you hardly have nothing to offer the black people, the so-called black people. Steve Biko educated us about blackness, but I was educated in the Sunday school of the AME Church about black consciousness. Sunday school did not teach me about Adama and Eva, told me about how people fought for themselves, for self-help. Example of which the biggest in this country is Wilberforce Institute. Whereas some folk that I will also openly call Negroes still come to confuse us here in this country. Because if you come to confuse us in the country that has overcome so much, you are nothing but a Negro. You are but nothing but what the white man calls a nigger. You are nothing but a nigger. So the niggers, thuggish niggers in cartels who are protecting other cartels. By the way, remember, Thabo Mbeki opened up the borders of this country so that we might be swarmed by Africans from other countries. And there's nothing Pan-Africanist about it. It was a scheme to bolster the muscle of the ANC so that a lot of them should start by having the underground vote and ultimately the ultimate vote that they will qualify for having stayed so long in this country. And the ANC will live forever. Who is this Messiah, ANC? Who is this Messiah, ANC? There's a bishop in the church in which I used to belong, Bishop Messiah. I'm not referring to you. I'm not referring to that name Messiah, the name of my friends. I'm not, but there's a Messiah. One pastor friend of mine, when he knew, when the bishop's brother, Paul Messiah, announced himself as Messiah, this person of the so-called born again ilk decided, I'll never call you Messiah. You can't call yourself that. I'm just making an example. He says, no, you can't. You can't have a name Messiah. He refused. I don't remember what he preferred. Very nice person, not very brutal, but said, no ways, I'm not going to call you that. But really, I'm trying to say to you, like I told you, I pepper my talk with other stuff. And and I'm telling the truth. Nobody can sue me about the things that I'm saying. I'm not talking fibs. I'm not talking fibs. These people want to be the Messiah that killed us, that destroyed us in the genocide of HIV/AIDS, the genocide of Nyaupe is alive and kicking right now, alive and kicking ruthlessly. And they think they could not stop it. No, they didn't want to stop it. A friend of mine, Mishak Mabukhwani, who is no more, Mishak said to me, Paul, they want to crush this country to pieces because its economy is too sophisticated for them. They can't handle it. They want to crush it to pieces. He referred to people, even those that are called intellectuals, like Thabo Mbeki. I don't know anything about economy. I'm a township boy, and I never went to school for economics and all that. But the ones who comes from Eton in London, of the of the Queen and now the King, came with this concept of some kind of a thing muddled up with economy and this version and that version and all that and all that. And Mishak said, Mishak Mabukhwan is, some of you people know Mishak, and some of you people thought there was something wrong with Mishak's head, but he was my friend. If there's something wrong with my head, it is because maybe I was Mishak Mabukhwani's friend. So I celebrate him today. He said they want to destroy this country because the economy is too sophisticated for them. And they wanted to destroy the country by first decimating the black population, making sure men don't have jobs. Men are festering in shebeens with the 350 that they give them today. And men are not looking after children they have sired. Children belong to their mothers, single, and homes. Men don't have homes, don't have jobs. And every time there is this tender nonsense of theirs, they would hire 2 men to 50 women doing a road construction job or something like that. You'd find women in overalls. And the physical structure of an African woman does not allow them to be there constructing roads. Unlike German women, they're structured differently. And German women had to go into the streets and work like men after the war to repair. We've never had a war here. So why are you unleashing women? Unleashing women to cover up potholes. And you are saying nothing about the men. All that you are doing, you are giving them 350. Yellow Moor, man.